Please stand for the invocation. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for another day that you have given to us with our spirit of life, spirit of love, spirit of community, and spirit of justice. We ask your blessings for the people who have been called to lead the community in which we live, work, and play. We ask blessings for our county, city, and state elected officials, employees, police, firefighters, EMS, and our military. Help our elected officials to not ask first, how do we fix this, but what do we need to do to learn? How might we need to change? And to whom do we need to listen? Remind us of, because we all forget from time to time, especially in the noisiness of what passes for political debate today, that they are not only leaders, but also servants, and that it is our responsibility and ours to serve the common good for all. Grant us the wisdom, courage to know how to do what is right and good and true. May we speak out when it's time to speak out and listen patiently, respectfully when it is time to listen. May we always be guided by the spirit of community, by the spirit of justice, by the spirit of love. This we pray in the name of all that we hold sacred and holy, all that we hold good and right and true. May it be so. Amen. Let us say the pledge. Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for coming tonight. Now we're going to do our oath of offices. And I guess you start with me first. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Caroline Power Evans. I'm the Chief Magistrate Judge here in Barrett County. And one very important aspect of my job is to marry people. And when I marry people, I take it it's a very important role to me because they're making a commitment with God. And this is one of the second things that I do that I find very, very important because you're also making a commitment and a commandment with God to represent the people here in the city of Statham. So this is very important to me. I just want to thank you all for the blessings. You need to get your number. I'm a man that needs to marry. Me too. All right. Raise your right hand. I, Deborah Crown, solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution and will obey the laws of the United States and of the state of Georgia, that I will in all respects observe the provisions of the Charter and ordinances of the city of Statham, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of mayor. I further swear or affirm that I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money due this state or any political subdivision or authority thereof, and that I am otherwise qualified to hold said office according to the Constitution and the laws of Georgia. So help me God. Congratulations. don't drop the Bible. That's not good. So raise your right hand. I, Tim Terrell, solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution and will obey the laws of the United States and of the state of Georgia. That I will, in all respects, observe the provisions of the Charter and ordinances of the city of Statham, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of city council. I further swear or affirm that I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money due this state or any political subdivision or authority thereof, and that I am otherwise qualified to hold said office according to the Constitution and the laws of Georgia. So help me God. Congratulations. Councilwoman Bogenreiter. Just raise your hand. I, Christine Bogenreiter, solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution and will obey the laws of the United States and of the state of Georgia. That I will, in all respects, observe the provisions of the Charter and ordinances of the city of Statham, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of city council. I further swear or affirm that I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money due this state or any political subdivision or authority thereof, and that I am otherwise qualified to hold said office according to the Constitution and laws of Georgia. So help me God. Congratulations. And Councilman Burnett. That's even better. I, Frank Burnett, solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution and will obey the laws of the United States and of the state of Georgia. That I will, in all respects, observe the provisions of the Charter and ordinances of the city of Statham, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of city council. I further swear or affirm that I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money due this state or any political subdivision or authority thereof, and that I am otherwise qualified to hold said office according to the Constitution and laws of Georgia. So help me God.
Jody. I'd like now to make the motion, have someone make the motion. Oh, yes, that's right. Okay. This piece of paper, this one, your. I think they were going to do ballots. Okay.
Can we write in Gary Venable?
Mr. Venable is no longer eligible to serve as president. He does not meet the qualifications.
All votes in favor of Lee Patterson?
Congratulations. It's now time that we open up the public hearing now. I'd like a motion to open up the public hearing.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Do you want to read the rezoning order? Okay.
This is a public hearing of R 2304 PLG LLC, Carol Davis taken part by Melody Bob, the applicant, ARJAC Enterprise Inc., is the property owner seeking to rezone from RR Rural Residential District and SR2 Suburban Residential District to PUD Planned Unit Development of 69.95 acres, map parcel ST04-058. 25.074 acres, ST04059, 26.046 acres, and part of ST04095D, 18.470 acres, fronting on the north and west side of Jefferson Street, across from and north of Bear Creek Middle School. Proposed use is a single-family detached subdivision of 123 owned lot. From a procedural perspective, the proponent will have a total of 10 minutes to present the case or their application, and any questions the council may have can be asked and will not be counted against the applicant's time. There will also be 10 minutes for opponents to the project. Same rules apply. Prior to that, staff will present its report and recommendations relative to the project.
Make sure you speak into the microphone.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Jerry White. I'm consulting city planner under contract with the city. I did prepare a staff report on this matter, which I believe is part of your package. And first of all, this application was filed back for consideration in November. And when the applicant got a copy of the recommendation, which was for approval with conditions, the applicant asked that the public hearing be deferred until tonight, till the January meeting. And since then, we've worked on conditions of zoning to their, I believe, to their satisfaction, and they've also, the applicant has also, I believe, met with one or more council members to discuss the merits of it and also agree to address any comments that the members of the city council had who met with the applicant. And so the staff recommendation is for approval with conditions. There's 19 of them. I'm not going to go through and articulate those, but there are several of them running the gamut of a lot of different things. And so that's all I have to say. I'll answer any questions if you have, or if something comes up during the public hearing or afterwards, I'll be here if you need any kind of input from me. Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Thanks, Jerry. Does the applicant like to come forward?
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. My name is Melody Glauton with Anderson, Tate & Carr, 1960 Satellite Boulevard in Duluth. It is my privilege to be here this evening on behalf of the applicant. This application for rezoning is for a 69-acre assemblage of 3 parcels of land that are located at Jefferson Street, north of the intersection of 3rd Street. The property is currently zoned SR2 and RR pursuant to the city's Unified Development Code. The applicant is seeking approval to rezone the property to PUD, which is the Planned Unit Development District for the city, and the request is to develop the property as single-family residential detached with 121 lots. As you may have seen in the staff report and in some of the prior submittals, it was 123 lots that has since been reduced to make room for the inclusion of some additional amenity space. So again, this property is an assemblage of 3 parcels with frontage on Jefferson Street. The site does have fairly significant challenges from a development standpoint. There is a stream in the property, and there's also the pipeline easement that's just to the east of us. And so the properties that are adjacent to us are also residentially zoned properties, RR, SR1, and SR2. So the code supports the development of low to medium density residential for this site, and the site also falls within the recommended land use for this area. The proposed density is 1.74 units per acre, and with regard to the actual product, the minimum heated square footage would be 1,800 square feet. These would be high-end residences. The price point, while we cannot guarantee what that is because of market fluctuation, we believe would be in the mid-300s to up into the 400s. And so, as you have seen on the site plan, the property does contain additional amenity features for potential residents. There are 2 pocket parks. There's now an amenity area at the entrance of the community that would include a dog park, a fire pit, and gazebo, and additional open space. With regard to parking, I know that there have been concerns in the city with regard to cars parked on the street within neighborhoods. So this particular plan provides for 503 spaces. That is 4 spaces per home, so 2 in the garage and 2 in the driveway. And then there are 19 on-street parking spaces. So the homes would be very similar to the properties that are surrounding us, similar in quality and size and price point. And the architectural style would consist of brick or stacked stone, cedar, shake, and those types of accents. This development is actually served by two separate entrances. As I mentioned, there is some topography challenges and some site development challenges. So it has two separate entrances that would come out onto Jefferson Street, and those would be landscaped and maintained by the homeowners association. With regard to the timeline for this potential development, I do have the applicant here this evening that can answer more specific questions about that, but it is anticipated that the purchase of this property would not be until obviously a approval, and then so in January, and then final completion of the product from the horizontal development standpoint would be in November of 2026. So the project would not be even anticipated to go vertical until after that point. So with regard to this request, we believe it is an excellent opportunity to bring additional housing to the city, which is much needed. Similar to Gwinnett, I'm sure if you're familiar with the lack of housing supply, and that has expanded into the additional counties as well. With regard to this development, the Joint Comprehensive Plan for Barrow County and the city, the property is located in the future land use category for suburban residential. And so this particular proposal fits exactly with regard to that intent. The comprehensive plan also states that the intent of the land is to preserve established neighborhoods, and we believe that this proposed development accomplishes that as well. With regard to the specific condition, as Mr. White mentioned earlier, we have been working on this project for quite some time. Jerry does an excellent job with his staff reports, and so you can see the thorough conditions. And then the applicant also incorporated additional conditions that would actually be an advantage for the community. Specifically, they included additional conditions with regard to an HOA covenant that would be, the HOA would be managed by a third-party company, and it also included restrictions with regard to the on-street parking, so you don't have an issue with excessive street parking within the community. The HOA would also be responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of fencing, landscaping, the interior streets, open spaces, sidewalks, community areas, stormwater detention, and water quality ponds, lighting, and the entrance, and the amenities. So this is intended to be a fully comprehensive community that is going to be maintained by that HOA and the expenses associated with that. So there's no additional burden on the city for that. The developer in this case, as you've seen from the application and submittal materials, is Perrin Homes. They are a trusted home builder with over 200 years of combined experience in the home building business. They have successfully developed many communities. I think the closest one to the city would be Traditions of Brazelton. They also have successful communities in Loganville and in Marietta. But they are an established home builder, and they want to invest in the city, and their intent is to bring a very high-quality product to the city for that reason. Again, as I mentioned, we have our full team here this evening. We are happy to address any additional questions that you may have, and if none, I will certainly save our time for rebuttal.
Y'all have any additional questions that you need to ask?
I have one. Y'all had indicated in a prior meeting doing a traffic study with it being right there in front of the middle school.
Yes,
Is there
sir.
a timeline on getting that completed?
So I believe that traffic study, it is built in as one of the zoning conditions, typically within the timeline. And again, I can have my clients expand on this a little bit more, but they would commence that after they made it through their remainder of their due diligence period. And the condition is structured so that if there are certain recommendations within that traffic study that need to be implemented, then those, in fact, would be moving forward on the project. But the specific timeline, I'm happy to get more information from my client if you'd like to.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Concerning the HOA,
Yes, sir.
who would obtain the management company? Would it be the developer or the citizens, the residents?
Excellent question. I might actually have to defer to my client on this. Mr. Kendall King with Perrin Homes and can address that a little bit more.
Good evening, Mayor Council. Appreciate the time. Kendall King, Perrin Homes, 20 Mansell Court East, Suite 100, Roswell, Georgia. 30076. I believe the question was who hires the management company, is that correct? That would be us. We would hire the management company. There's a number of reputable management companies, property management companies in the city of Atlanta, some of which obviously we've worked with, and we would be hiring them.
I know that there's some management companies that they will only take a certain amount as far as a minimum in a excuse me, in a subdivision. Is there any problem with 120 or
No,
121 homes
No, sir.
obtaining one?
In fact, all of our subdivisions in Atlanta are managed by a third property management company, and we have communities as small as 50 units that are managed by a third party.
Do you have any idea the projected HOA dues would be?
I do not. We have not gotten that far as getting a budget together, but I do not think that they would be excessive because we're not proposing to build a huge, massive amenity here. If this were 180 units or 200 units, we'd have a bigger amenity, and that could drive up the HOA dues. But here, I believe they'll be at a minimum, which, in this environment with higher interest rates, is important for us, not to price out homeowners.
Okay, thank you.
And as far as on the traffic study question, we would complete that before a land disturbance permit, so that any recommendations in the traffic study, we would implement those during horizontal development.
And I know we had talked about, well aware of our water situation here in Statham, the water capacity. So, and I know y'all are willing to work on that, but we got some new council members here. So you kind of go into how y'all are willing to work with the city on that.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And I did not mean to ignore that issue.
Okay.
I know that it is a significant concern for the city. So as you mentioned, currently Barrow County is no longer issuing sewer capacity at this time. It is anticipated to come online later. So our proposal, and again, it has been built into the proposed zoning conditions, is to effectively have a staggered release of those sewer permits. So if you've seen the proposed conditions, what we proposed was that we could reserve capacity for up to 60 units when we go to apply for the land disturbance permit. And then within 12 months following the payment and the reservation of the sewer capacity for the first phase, we would have the ability to come back and request the remaining lots. So it's anticipated to be a staggered request because we're fully aware of the concerns with the sewer capacity. And with that as well, in the discussions that we had with the city, I think it's proposed to have 5 homes going per month. You'd have, it wouldn't be all, 60 that get started at the same time. It's 5 per month.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Have you gotten any indication from Bexar County as to when they would go online?
I believe that the city may have some additional information on that.
The city previously received correspondence from the director of wastewater for Barrow County that they were anticipating sometime in the summer of 2025. The way that the condition was related to sewer was originally drafted by staff was, even though there is a staggered release, they could not even apply or pre-purchase the first 60 unless and until there is some capacity available to the city. So there's actually one additional step that has to be cleared before they would be even available and would have the option of seeking it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to give Kendall a little more exercise here.
Sure, absolutely.
So going back to the HOA, are you saying that even when the development is full, all the houses are sold, you guys will still have a management company doing the HOA, or will the citizens or the homeowners take it over at some point?
That's a good question. So as we're building through the community, we will remain declarant. And the reason is because a lot of times the HOA runs at a deficit. And so we're there to fund the HOA to make sure that it has enough funds to keep running. But at a certain build-out percentage, I'm not sure if that's dictated by the city ordinance, we will turn it over to the homeowners, and there'll be a board of directors, and the homeowners at that point will manage the community.
high rate of termination.
Okay, so if we have any remaining time, we'll just save that for a rebuttal. Okay, thank you so much.
You did well. Do we have anybody from public that wants to come and speak on this issue?
Hi, my name is Kathy Bennett. I live at 409 Sunset Drive. I just want to say I don't think we need 120 more houses, 120 more families, 120 more children, or more, double, triple that, to burden our schools. I don't think we need it. I don't think we want it.
Anyone else? It's your time. Going once, going twice? Okay.
The applicant still has, a proponent has 3 minutes and 35 seconds to bring it to this.
Okay, come forward.
Thank you, Mayor. If I can, again, this is a significant economic investment into the city. And we truly believe that it is perfectly in line with the comprehensive plan, the future land use, and would be a great advantage for the city. I do have Mr. Kendall King that can speak a little bit more about the housing supply and demand issues that I think everyone is experiencing right now. But Parent Homes has worked for quite some time with regard to this property, and their intent is absolutely to bring a top-notch development so that there are additional housing options for citizens who want to live here in the city. And so with that, again, if Mr. King would like to add any information about the housing supply and demand challenges, and with that also, there is a lengthy list of conditions, I know, and so if the council should desire additional time to review those, we are certainly in agreement with that as well. But we do believe that this is the proper land use for this area, and it would be a quality development for the city.
I just have a couple macro level statistics on the Metro Atlanta housing market. Currently, there's a 2.5-month supply of housing inventory. We would need a 6-month supply to reach equilibrium. And really what that means is today we would need to build 45,000 housing units in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta, to have an equal market of supply and demand. Currently, we're pulling around 24,000 residential housing permits per year, but we're only delivering 12,000 developed lots per year. So each year we have a 12,000 unit deficit to the housing supply. In 2005, which is the height of the last housing cycle, we pulled over 60,000 residential permits in 2005 in Metro Atlanta. 18 years later, we're only pulling 24,000. So you can see over the course of that time, we're not even halfway to where we were in 2005. And so because of that, I'm sure y'all see it in the papers, you know, the housing market's just unaffordable. And until we deliver more housing units, then it's not going to solve itself. So I appreciate the time.
Thank you. And again, if you have any additional questions, we're happy to address those at this time, but would ask for your approval of this rezoning to PUD, which is the planned unit development.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you.
We now need to vote to come out of close public hearing. We have a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Sorry, I didn't need to raise my hand. Sorry, y'all. I forgot. Okay, I don't know which way to turn. Okay, all right. Thank you again for coming, and now we'll move on with the agenda. We'll go into the minute approval for the December the 19th, 2023 regular meeting minutes provided to the council on December the 20th, 2023. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Thank you. They abstained. Yeah, they weren't. Okay. They weren't on council yet. Okay. All right. We have our, we're moving on to our reports. And Rachel, I'd like you to come forward and give the financial report for the city.
My pleasure. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I will give the customary financial report that I usually do. I will add a little bit of nuance this time for our newcomers so that I can give a little bit more of an explanation of how the report is structured. What I present to you on a monthly basis is a revenue and expenditure report. I do cover all of the funds. Also, we primarily concentrate on the general fund, which is your main operating fund, and the water and sewer fund, which is also a large enterprise fund that you maintain. You have some other governmental funds for grants and capital projects, and we'll look at those, but they don't have the level of activity that a monthly update really provides a ton of value, so we kind of breeze over those. The packet that you have, pages 1 through 3, are a summary report. This shows your revenues and expenditures at a summary level. I did add page numbers this month, so pages 4 through 12 are actual detail pages, which gives you line item detail of what's summarized in those first 3 pages. In looking at the summary report, we'll look at the general fund revenues first on page 1. You will note that as of December 31st, we are 50% through the year. So when we look at the percent used column, that gives us a good just general guidance as to how we're pacing throughout the year. It is worth noting that on January 4th, a lot of our revenues for the December period have not come in yet. For example, franchise taxes are due by the 20th of the following month. So keep in mind that there are some revenues that we aren't seeing reflected in these reports due to the turnaround that we generate them in. So with that being said, taxes are still fairly low compared to our total budget. They're at 24%. That doesn't give me any heartburn. That's expected due to our bill and our due date. We will see those come in throughout the month of January and even into February. So I will anticipate those taxes increasing. Also included in that line item are your largest one, like electric franchise taxes. That doesn't come in until February, and that's an annual revenue. So all of these things contribute to that lower than 50% reflected there. Licenses and permits is reflecting right as where we would be expecting to pace at this time of year. You'll notice that our fines and forfeitures are slightly below anticipated levels. But that our investment income is significantly over budgeted levels, and that's just a product of where our interest rates are and have been through this fiscal year so far. Miscellaneous revenue is up, and overall your revenue is at 28% at this 50% point in the year. But again, I'd like to stress it's a major revenue stream, such as your property taxes, your electric franchise fee taxes, occupational taxes that come in the spring, your business licenses, those have not come in yet. So we're in a good position considering the time and the streams that we have yet to see. On your expenditure section, you will see a line for each of your departments. Again, we look at these internally at a line item detail level, but for purposes here, we'll look at them as a how we're pacing throughout the year. You'll see the legislative is slightly above 50%. That's an annual insurance premium. That's a one-time payment we've already made. So some things like that will explain your variances. one department that we do want to kind of just keep a close eye on is the community center. I know there were some significant repairs and maintenance and supplies that were purchased there, and we are showing 60% at this point in the year. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that department and just make sure we manage those expenditures through the remainder of the year. At this time, we are reporting at 42% of our total overall expenditure budget. Again, it's worth noting, just like on the revenue side, there's several invoices for the month of December we likely have not received by January 4th. So I would suggest that we are tracking closer to that 50% mark than this report is actually reflecting. But again, nothing here gives me any cause for concern or it warrants a special discussion that requires your attention at this time. Nothing unusual there. If you flip to page 2, this is when we'll get into your other governmental funds. You have some special revenue funds and some grant funds that we can review. Your special revenue funds include your 220 grant fund and your 230 ARP funds. And you'll notice that there's not a lot of activity in these funds except for interest revenue. We have not spent any of those ARP dollars yet, and I know we have an item on for discussion at this meeting. But right now we're just accruing interest on those funds. Fund 320, about halfway down your page, is your SPLOST fund. You will see revenues and expenditures there. As you are aware, your SPLOST is dedicated for debt service at this time. And you'll notice that your expenditures are significantly higher than your revenues. That is intentional, and if you recall, we made an advance payment on the debt service earlier in the fiscal year, in the fall. And so that $1.1 million you're seeing there was to spend down those SPLOST reserves and take advantage of the savings that we were able to by early paying that debt. Okay. The next fund down and the last fund on this page is your Fund 340. This is your Capital Projects Grant Fund. We call it the LMIG Fund because this is where we fund your local maintenance improvement grant dollars. That is the money we get from GDOT and has been earmarked for the Hammond project. So when those expenditures take place, they will come through that fund. Okay. On your next page, page 3, and our last summary page, the fund at the top is your debt service fund. This is essentially where we funnel the debt service through. So all of your contributing funds that pay your debt service transfer their money into the debt service fund, and then the debt service fund actually makes the payment. So it's a washing fund, but it centralizes all of our debt activity, which is beneficial. And then lastly, your enterprise fund, which is a major fund for us, is your water and sewer fund. This one we definitely want to keep an eye on as we progress through the year. I spoke with Jordan about it just this morning. Our charges for services line is significantly lower than we would like to see it at this time of year. That is primarily attributable to TAP revenue, capacity fees that we have not received that we anticipated. Again, and speaking with Jordan today, it appears that there's some timing differences and that some of those projects have been pushed out and delayed due to a multitude of reasons. So it is likely that we'll have an amendment to adjust some of those TAP fees down as we progress throughout the year. And then expenditures are pretty close to where I'd expect them. Again, I think that there's some December activity that has not been booked yet, and that we'll want to watch the collections for our revenue pretty closely to make sure that we can continue to keep up with those operational expenditures. Okay. That covers the summary of your finances. I'm happy to answer any questions, or general or specific in nature, that may help you understand and read the report or any of the items in it.
Any questions from the council?
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rachel. Moving on to the police department. Does anybody want to come forward and give the report? Thank you, Ira. I have the report here if you need it.
Okay, well, yeah.
I put you on the spot, didn't I?
All right, this is, our December 2023 police report. Call for service in the month of December was 65. Motor vehicle crashes was 9. Traffic citations was 65 written, but traffic warnings was 94 given out. Incident reports, it was 22. 248 business checks. We don't have 248 businesses, so they're getting checked 3 or 4 times a night or more. Neighborhood checks, 365 neighborhood checks. If everyone's aware, we had several entering autos here in Statham in the month of December, which since I've been here, usually around December to January, crimes do increase. But we had a couple of cars that was broken into on Cali and Rachel Drive and Hammonds Road. Since then, we have been able to identify the suspects, 1 adult and multiple juveniles from Athens Clark. So my CID division is working closely with Athens Clark on continue on with that investigation. The investigation is a lot larger than Statham. There's other counties involved. I'd like to recognize and give special thanks to our support staff for Christmas. They put together and oversee the Christmas for the kids, and what they did, they created bags, gift bags. So as the kids come into the police department, they can go on the Christmas tree and select just a gift bag with basic stuff with kids stuff, anywhere between the ages of 2 to 10. So we had several of those that we was able to give out. We also participated in the annual Shop with a Hero event, and with other local agencies that reached out where we went to Walmart and shop with kids. State Police Department this year was able to assist 6 families that was in need for toys and food. So that was pretty good. But basically that's it. You have any questions? Anyone?
Thanks, Ira. It was a great opportunity for me to do the ride around. I opened my eyes a lot. So thank you so much. It was great.
Come on back.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back. Thank you. I'd like to give the mayoral report, day 4, just so y'all know, okay? The staff has worked really, really hard this week. There's lots of things, many changes that are made when a new mayor and council come in, and I want to thank the staff very much for everything that they've done to welcome us and help us get on our feet and put our left shoe and our right shoe on. So thank you so much. We have started moving forward with the city's needs. We are going back to our times Monday through Friday from 8 to 5 p.m. We have reinstated that, and starting in February, our regular meetings, our meetings will be the first and third Tuesdays, and they will both be at 6:30. So first and third Tuesdays, and we will be meeting here. City Hall has removed the stage to allow room for staff, and we found water damage and possible termite damage on the side of the wall, and so we're going to have to be looking into that. RFPs will be going out to the attorney for review next week, and we have met with several of our vendors this week. Moving forward to a facelift to the community center that we are here tonight in. We have cleaned, and you can smell. Does it smell good to y'all? It smells real good, doesn't it? And just wanted to let you know that there's been some good hard work, scrubbing, and doing things from our staff. Looking forward to doing an RFP on the website and sound system for the community center. Well, we've had a lot of giggles this week, so I just want to put that in too. And I'm looking forward to a better Statham. So thank you. We also have a report from our Public Works Department. They've been very busy as well. They've had a total of 101 locates, 58 water and 43 sewer. They've done a lot of leaves out there. Y'all been blowing leaves, so they picked up a bunch of those. There was a 12-inch water main on Fieldcrest Drive, had to be repaired due to a rupture. They've done preventative maintenance work. Several new water meters were set. Multiple contractor-sized bags of trash were picked up throughout the city, and then a couple of small water leaks were addressed. We did have the water department dealt with multiple complaints of the discolored water that was released from the Bear Creek water preserve. While the water was all right and pleasing, the water plant said that the levels of magnesium were below the secondary contaminant level and was not a health concern to any customers. So anybody that dealt with any of that just needs to know that there were no concerns there. Public Works crew will be continuing to take down the Christmas decorations, and you could see that being done today, and this should be completed by the end of the week. So that's the report from Public Works. It's now time for citizen input. Has anybody come and signed up for citizen input? You can sign up, yes.
All right, congratulations, new mayor and new council. My name is Dwight McCormick. I live at 2123 Smith Drive. What an exciting time to see our city develop, and volunteers and people from the community step up to serve. I couldn't be more grateful for what's transpired here in the city over the election, and with the changes that we're seeing and the ones we also anticipate. It came to my attention tonight that Mayor Piper, or former Mayor Piper, before he left, took it upon himself to veto the sidewalk ordinance. Is that correct? He did? Okay. You know, I've always been an advocate for sidewalks and safety and the walkability score, and how important that component of the city's infrastructure is. And I never thought as a citizen that we would be sitting here having this discussion about, you know, who's responsible, who pours the concrete, who, you know, a deeper dive, you know, into sidewalks. Sometimes they're developed by the developers, sometimes the city develops them. But in the first 18 months or 2 years of the previous administration, the city poured concrete, they did maintenance, there were line items for sidewalks in the budget, and then all of a sudden, administratively, the city pulled the string and said, well, we don't maintain sidewalks anymore, and we're not going to be doing any more repairs. So the responsibility fell, you know, for the maintenance of the sidewalks and the trimming of the trees all fell on the volunteers from the Tree, Green Space, and Beautification Committee. That being said, that took valuable time away from, you know, us that the city was once taking responsibility for. So, you know, it's just kind of upsetting that we're, you know, that the council voted unanimously to adopt the ordinance, and then, you know, Veto Joe gets to come in here 2 days before he leaves, take the voice of the citizens, basically as a unanimous council vote, 5-0. The voice of the council is muted during a veto. You know, that's the most horrible thing that a mayor can do is take the voice of the citizens away that elect him or that elected him. So maybe to get the discussion and the growth and get the city going back in the direction we want, may we amend the work session agenda to discuss the veto of the sidewalk ordinance so we can right the ship, so to speak. We can't? Or maybe I can ask one of the council members to ask the mayor to amend the agenda so we can then get it on record that we discussed the veto of the sidewalks. That way we can vote to override the veto in the next our first voting session with the new mayor and council. Is that something we could possibly consider, or would you consider?
Is that something that we can do?
Under the charter, when ordinance is vetoed, it automatically is placed on the next voting session for discussion.
Okay.
So it would not be appropriate to do that tonight. It's already going to be on the next voting session.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Does the mayor or any council member have any objection, or may we discuss? I mean, do y'all have any questions about the sidewalks or about the issue? I think it's horrible that we're sitting up here wasting the city's resources, time, votes, paper for something that should have never happened. So, I'm just, the sidewalks are my thing because you got a walkability score, developers come and look, everybody looks at, people walking in the community, and it's all a very important component of our city's infrastructure. So I'm just trying to get the ship righted, if you will. Okay. I always go long. All right. Love you guys. Goodbye, Veto Joe.
Thanks, Dwight.
Hey again. I didn't know I was going to get up here, so I got nervous and I forgot everything I wanted to say. Congratulations to you all. I'm delighted to see all of you behind that table. And about the thing that we're talking about with the new neighborhood, I'm sure that y'all have already discussed it. I'm sure your minds are made up how you're going to vote. But I just wanted to say that if you do vote this one in, there's not anything we can do about it, but I really want to encourage you to think about the future. This has got to stop somewhere. If you're going to vote this one in, okay, but let's don't vote it every one of these in. Yeah, the city will get a little bit of tax revenue, but out of 120 homes, that's going to be roughly $108,000 a year. Is that worth everything that it's going to cost our city? We've got probably 30 empty houses in my neighborhood that are even still under construction. There's an apartment complex under construction up the highway a little bit. And I don't know about most of you people, but I don't think anybody in here wants this to be Atlanta. So for this company to compare us with Atlanta, I mean, we're already turning into Gwinnett. I mean, it's just happening. It's overflowing. It's bleeding over to here. And also, if anybody thinks $350,000 is a high-end house in this market, there's $350,000 in my neighborhood, and that is not high-end, I can tell you. To me, high-end is the Georgia Club or somewhere like that. Okay, I think that's it.
Thank you, Kathy.
Joe Piper, 459 Cali Lane, Statham. As far as to answer the slanderous comments that are always being thrown around by Dwight McCormick, I'd like to ask this council, because they were behind my recall, which was another bogus thing, and you all know it because they lost twice in court. I'd like my $5,000 back. You owe it to me. You've been nothing but mean to sit up there and say, oh, we love everybody and we just do this and we do that and oh, we're all coming together. Welcome to the Broad Street Review, okay? But number one,
You were bankrupt, not the city, you were. Mayor, it's a violation of the ordinance called disturbance of the public. I'm sorry.
so he knows, being a 4-year member on the council, if he read the charter, why I vetoed it. The charter states that it is the responsibility of the homeowners. And the reason that I did as the mayor at the beginning, and not 18 months, but about 6 months, because I trusted the council members to tell me the truth because they were in office long enough to know what the charter said. And when I started reading the charter, which by the very sworn statement that you made as mayor, you're going to find it is your job to uphold the laws and the ordinance, which is what you swore to in secret on Monday. Now, I vetoed it for a very good reason. Now, if you all want to take on the responsibility of all the sidewalks in this city, you read my veto. I didn't do anything malicious. I was very factual. And if it doesn't come true, that'll be great. That'll be great for the city. I didn't do it to be vindictive. I did it because I was responsible to uphold the Constitution, the Georgia Constitution, and the Charter, which is our Constitution. However, people ran on the statement that we need to throw our charter out and completely rewrite it. That's your prerogative, but it'll have to go through the Gold Dome, and you'll probably get it. But that is why I vetoed it, for that reason and that reason only. And I don't need another citizen constantly making nasty comments and being very vindictive, because that's where the vindication is, not with me. This is my city too. I did my service 4 years, and I always had the best interest of this city in mind. I hope the 6 of you do too. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Anyone else? Thank. Now on to unfinished business. We're looking at the ARPA table from December the 20th, 2023, regular meeting, to approve the project list for the ARPA funds. I'm gonna need your help.
I was asked to provide a little bit of information on the ARPA. We have $1,080, sorry. Can I reset?
1 million.
We have $1,080,417.50 for anyone who cares, in our bank account, which is the ARPA money that we've received, and needs to be, according to the regulations, obligated by December 31st, 2024, and expended by December 31st, 2026. There are a number of eligible uses. They have added additional eligible uses. I do believe that of the discussions council has had for the uses of this money, all of them are fall under those eligible uses. So I haven't heard any discussions of any projects that do not fit the classifications that we are given. With that being said, I think there was some challenges with identifying what direction the council wanted to go with those projects. I'll answer any questions that I can in regard to helping the council. But really, ideally, you have obligated and identified those projects by the end of this, calendar year, 2024. And then keeping in mind when you identify those projects that we are able to, considering supply chain, considering other limitations, that you're able to actually deliver and expend those funds within that following 2-year period. Those are some important considerations.
And if I may add, the ARPA, I've seen many municipalities, budget for and allocate ARPA funds very similar to the way that SLOSS funds are allocated, which is there's actually 2 different decision levels, one on a macro level, one on a micro level. The macro level is that you create specific categories under which a project might fall, for example, a road, a sewer, a water, what have you, and then underneath that general, and go ahead and allocate percentages or amounts to those categories, and then underneath each of those categories, kind of create a specific project list, and then you can just start checking them off, and as soon as the money in that category runs out, you're done. That's the most common way that I've seen these ARPA budgets be created.
That's absolutely fair. That is definitely one approach. With $1 million, I think we've all talked about this, it's not going to go as far as we would all like. So, yep, that is a perfectly good approach. Another approach is, everybody identify their, top 3 projects. Y'all put them in a pot, and then you prioritize everybody's projects. And then you look at those prioritizations, and the top 3 fall out, and you just start at the top and do as many as you can until you get down that priority list. That's another alternative approach that gives everybody some input and maybe stretches your dollars a little bit farther. So those are some alternative approaches that you could use to get a list together.
Thank you, Rachel. I think the last time we talked about this, we were waiting to see if T-SPLOS was going to pass. That has passed now, so that's a little bit less of a worry, being able to pay for roads and stuff. We did ask the question, I believe, could some of these funds be used for park improvements and stuff? Do you remember if you can or not?
So
if that's one of the...
If you were going to go that route, my recommendation would be to elect to use the funds as a revenue loss or revenue replacement.
Right.
You have the $10 million threshold that, you have, if it's under $10 million, you can elect to use revenue loss. It essentially, there's some pros and cons to that. The pros is it gives you a lot more flexibility for how do you want to use the funds. You are no longer limited to those specific uses that they have set forth for you. It also gives you some flexibility on the timeline because it would effectively remove those deadlines that you have set forth with the December 31st, 24, and 26. Some cons, and another benefit is that it simplifies your reporting. You don't have to list out the projects and the timeline and all of those things. You just have one project and you report that same revenue loss till the end of time. Alternatively, there are cons to this. One, by removing your deadlines, it creates the potential that this could drag on further, and I don't think that's what any of us want. I think, getting some projects tackled is advantageous for everybody at this time. It adds a little bit more of a complex accounting in that, we would still want to set aside the $1 million, even if we take it as revenue replacement. It's a little bit more of a complex accounting transaction, but that is an alternative to use.
Okay, yeah, that's what it was. I was trying to jog my memory about it from last time. It would be probably best to work on, sewer and water line improvements with most of this money, but
I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah. If we could take just a little bit of it and, make our public spaces a little bit nicer, I think we could get by with some of that too. And something else that's been brought to my attention recently, guys, we need to start spending this money pretty quick because I am hearing tales of the federal government taking grant money back here lately. So we need to be expeditious in spending this wisely. So just keep that in the back of your minds.
I know we had discussed looking at some of our older sewer lines, especially right there in front of the school, scoping that and looking at that to see, what those look like. So, that's one thing that we had discussed as well, if y'all remember. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is new business, and we're looking at the Statham Place final plat to approve the final plat of Statham Place subdivision. Thank you, Jerry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jerry White's Consulting City Planner. I don't have a lot to say about this except that I've worked with the applicant to meet the zoning requirements for this plat. And of course, Jordan McDaniel is the Public Works, has a lot of responsibility for making sure that the water and sewer are okay. We do require a bond. I don't believe that we've seen that bond yet, but we've worked with Corbett Woods is one of the persons that's helping the applicant with that. And so generally the staff recommendation is for approval of it, that it meets the requirements for the zoning, but that it's subject to the Public Works Director okaying it. And I think talking to the city attorney, there are a few issues outstanding there, and also to get a hold of the maintenance bond for the streets and to make sure that that's in order before your vote. I would like to say briefly that we take a little bit of liberty on this. Normally, we'd love for every project, every plat to come through with 100%. It's perfect. There's no issues, but we capitalize on the fact that you have a work session and a voting session, and the applicants for subdivisions, they are always just trying to get to that finish line because of their dollars going out the window, and this is their payday once they get the final plat. So we do try and work with them to some extent when they're close and they anticipate that they'll have everything done by the voting session. And so you always have that ability to come back later and say, well, they haven't met everything, and so we're going to table this or so forth. But generally they meet the zoning requirements, and if you have questions about that, I'll be glad to try and answer them.
And Mayor, if I may, I spoke with Joe McDaniel this afternoon, and he asked me to relay a certain number of concerns that he had about this plat as presented. One has already been addressed by Jerry, which is that he would like to see the bond and the bond agreement be in place prior to the approval of the final plat. The second is a timing issue related to the dedication of utilities. If you'll note on the first page of this final plat, on the left-hand side at the bottom, there are 3 dedications of utilities. Those indicate that the owner dedicates and the city accepts the water line, sewer line, and utility easement. Some of these utilities, however, are in the right-of-way of the road. And so from a timing perspective, Mr. McDaniel would request that the city not accept any dedication until such time as the roads are also dedicated. Third is a preference, which is the utility easement, a 3-foot utility easement on the northeastern portion of the plat that runs approximately from that cul-de-sac across and adjacent to lots 20 and 19, and then connects to Highway 211. Mr. Daniel indicated that he has a very strong preference for having an actual meets and bounds legal description for that easement area. It's not uncommon to simply accept the utility easement based upon what's shown on plat, but based on some experiences Mr. Daniel's had recently, meets and bounds would be vastly preferred. And then the fourth component is, you'll note that same utility easement, that where it connects to 211, there's a small trapezoidal-shaped portion that traverses private property that's not part of the subdivided property here. We would just need to see proof that that easement has been given by that property owner to the developer, and in turn can be conveyed to the city. those are the four bullet point items that Mr. McDaniel flagged, that we want to do with the data.
Any questions?
There, the questions would be for staff, the applicant has an opportunity.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Hey, how are y'all? I'm Logan Moss. I work with My Home Communities as the representative for all of our development projects. I didn't get my address. Yeah, 1011 Tallis Street, Suite 400, Bogart, Georgia 30620. I guess in regards to some of your questions, I actually spoke to Mr. McDaniel on the way over here, so I kind of knew what some of that stuff was coming. In regards to the easement that you referenced on the trapezoidal piece, that those lots were, I believe, platted sometime around 2021. Given that those were platted and that easement was shown on that plat, that would sustain to your access easement, which we do obviously have a meets and bounds as well for that. Jordan has been made aware of that as well. Additionally, with the easement for the meets and bounds that you requested, we will do that. That's no problem. As far as some of the other repairs, I believe for the service line, I have no control over Georgia Power coming in and installing their power. They have ripped up 3 of our service lines at this point, which is unfortunate, but we will get all that repaired. Obviously, you know, they're still actively in there working, and I think they work 4 days a week, very odd schedules. So it's been about 2 months now that they've been in there getting this wrapped up. Hopefully that'll be soon. Given, you know, the approval of the final plat, we will go ahead and repair their service lines, you know, hoping that, you know, none of that's holding us up. What I did recommend to Jordan, which would help you guys in the long run, is maybe make it contingent on a CO of the houses, that, you know, all service lines are repaired, which I think would obviously help in the long run, given that Georgia Power could go longer than, you know, the actual final plat approval, because they could be in there for another month. You know, I don't know what their schedule is. I mean, it varies. What were some of the other concerns, I believe? Bond. Jerry, I believe you spoke with Corbett. Has that bond amount been approved by you? Correct? Okay, yeah. So at this point, our CFO is working on the approved amount by Jerry. So we'll have that bond in, you know, no time. That's not an issue at all. I believe that covers it, right? And for your guys' information, this subdivision was approved sometime around, well, the zoning was approved around 2021. So all we've done at this point is just development to the city specs. So we're just kind of at a red stamp process here and answering any questions that may hold us up in the approval.
Do you think you can have those bonds in the next 11 days before our voting session?
We should.
Okay.
And obviously, if we don't, we know the consequences.
So I take it there's been no changes since the initial approval?
No, sir. Not at all. I mean, we don't have the authority to change stuff once we're approved. And Jordan McDaniel's actually been on site pretty much, I would say, every time I was out there, which is a good bit being we were in Bogart. He was out there, you know, if not in the hole with our utilities guy helping with the water line, he was somewhere close by. So all these utilities have been pressure tested, chlorinated, all that good stuff. So they do meet all the health specs and all that good stuff. And as far as the water line looping into 211, that was a condition that the city recommended we do to loop the water. So that's why there is that 20-foot access easement, which is not an issue by any means. So, any other questions?
Thank you, Logan.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're going to move on to our city committees. It's in our charter that the mayor makes a decision on the committees and who will head them up. And so Our Finance Committee will be headed up by Lee Patterson. Tree and Beautification Committee is Tim Torelli. Events Committee is Christine Bogenreiter. Committee Outreach is Frank Burnett. In Economic Development is Scott Penn. Any of you citizens would like to reach out to any of these folks and want to get on the committee, just let them know. Their telephones are on the website, and so give them a call. I'm sure they would appreciate any volunteers that would like to help them. Okay. In your packet, you're going to find everybody the new city council meeting schedule. So you have a draft there. You can keep up when the meetings are. And
Mayor,
yes.
under our code of ordinances, the meetings are supposed to take place at City Hall unless ordered by the city council. So I would
We have to vote.
between now and the voting session, at the top of the schedule, it states here that all city council meetings are held in City Hall, that it can change to read the community center. And if that is adopted by ordinance, that will be an order of the city council.
Okay.
I think that formality needs to be met.
Okay. Thank you so much. Anybody else have any more questions? Okay. At this time, we need to go into executive session. Wait, yes, I need to read this.
Point to order, 30 seconds, be quick, I promise. Very quick. Dwight McCormick's 2123 Smith Drive. Want to formally apologize for my outburst to Mayor Piper and his wife. I need to actually thank him for his service for the 4 years they spent here in Statham. It was not all lost. I just got a little upset. Additionally, I want to point out that the ordinance, or the city's charter that we're working on, was written in 1966. The population of Statham at that time was about 400 people. So there weren't any sidewalks to even speak of when the city's charter was written. And I also like to bring another point that the city of Bogart just spent $375,000, downtown Bogart, of their ARPA money on their downtown and their sidewalks. So anyway, just a quick point of order. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go into executive session. The meeting is to discuss or deliberate upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action, or dismissal, or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee as provided in Georgia Code Section 50.14.3b2.
Motion to go into executive session.
All in favor? I gotta remember not to put my hand up. Thank you. I need a motion to come out of executive session.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
The mayor and city council of the city of Statham adjourned into executive session to discuss matters exempt from the Open Meetings Act, specifically to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, and disciplinary action, or dismissal, or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee. No votes were taken during executive session. A copy of the affidavit and resolution will be included with the minutes.
Thank you. I need a motion to, adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
All in favor? All right, we're done.